Once the conflict between Russia and Ukraine erupted, global prices skyrocketed at a visible rate within just a week. Oil prices in early March rose by one-third compared to February, and many international food prices also surged. However, the most alarming aspect was a prophecy from the book of Revelation in the Bible. Revelation, the final part of the New Testament, is short but filled with apocalyptic imagery. It describes the end of the world, beginning with the Lamb opening 7 seals, each releasing a rider on a horse, white, red, black, and pale. These riders bring pestilence, war, famine, and death. The coming of these 4 horsemen is a prelude to the end times, a concept that has been a hot topic for speculation and countless Hollywood films. However, it was mostly dismissed as fiction until 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic swept the globe, infecting over 448 million people and claiming over 6 million lives. This pandemic seemed to herald the arrival of the White Horseman, the rider symbolizing pestilence. By the latter half of 2021, as the pandemic seemed to be under control, people began to relax, believing that only local conflicts in Africa and the Middle East remained. But 2022 brought the shocking escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war. Then earlier this year, the Middle East crisis broke out. In 2024, Hamas seized over 250 hostages, including Israeli citizens and foreigners holding dual citizenship. These hostages were forcibly taken from their homes and even from a music festival, with some subjected to sexual violence before their tragic demise. The conflict erupted when the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, initiated airstrikes targeting the Gaza Strip. Subsequently, ground troops and armored vehicles were deployed, resulting in weeks of devastating violence. Tens of thousands of Gazans lost their lives, and more than half of the buildings in the Gaza Strip were left damaged or destroyed. As the situation escalated, Israel found itself continually sending troops to combat Hamas and secure the release of the hostages. In May 2024, Israel announced its decision to dispatch additional troops to Rafah, defying international pressure and further exacerbating the crisis in the Middle East. These wars and conflicts make people wonder if the Red Horsemen of war had arrived as well. This led to fears that the Black Horseman, symbolizing famine, might soon follow. The unfolding events made these ancient prophecies seem eerily relevant. Ukraine, known as the breadbasket of Europe, with its fertile black soil, exported vast amounts of wheat, oats, corn, and sunflower oil globally. The bustling port of Odessa was a key hub for these exports, but the war put it at risk. Russia had already seized the port of Kherson, and Odessa was next. If Odessa fell, Ukraine's main route to the Black Sea would be cut off, disrupting the global food supply chain. The sanctions against Russia further exacerbated the problem. Being cut off from the SWIFT international banking system hampered its ability to trade. From 2017, Ukraine and Russia were major wheat producers, contributing 14% of the world's wheat supply and nearly 30% of global wheat exports. Together, they also dominated the sunflower oil market, accounting for 60% of global production. North Africa and the Middle East heavily depend on Ukrainian wheat. Egypt, the largest wheat importer, relies significantly on Ukrainian grain, as do Lebanon, Libya, Tunisia, and Indonesia. The disruption in supply caused by the war pushed global wheat prices to a 60-year high, rising by 43% on the Chicago Board of Trade. This price surge hinted at impending shortages and potential famine, reminiscent of the Black Horseman's presence. The conflict in Gaza has also exacerbated the region's food crisis, particularly because the Middle East, including Palestine, heavily relies on food imports to fulfill its population's nutritional requirements. The ongoing war further exacerbates the already dire food and water shortages. The Black Horseman in Revelation holds scales, indicating skyrocketing grain prices, making food as valuable as precious metals. This symbolism reflects the dire situation where basic foodstuffs become unaffordable, leading to widespread hunger. Modern agriculture's seasonal nature means that disruptions can take years to recover from, making immediate relief unlikely. Despite the bleak outlook, other global granaries like India, the United States, Canada, and Australia might mitigate some shortages. India's wheat exports have been rising, offering a glimmer of hope. Moreover, controlling interest rates has contributed to the stabilization of the situation. The inflation rate has been reduced, and as of 2024, we find ourselves in a relatively stable period, relatively speaking. While there remains a possibility of food and beverage prices rising again due to inflation, the decrease in the scale of the Ukraine war has also alleviated inflationary pressures and helped stabilize food prices. As we ponder these ancient prophecies and their relevance today, we can only hope for a swift end to the conflict, wishing for peace and stability to return. The specter of the Four Horsemen reminds us of our vulnerability and the interconnectedness of our world. Our initial fear of the world descending into chaos as the four riders arrive in sequence is gradually dissipating. Contrary to our worst imaginings, the world is slowly regaining its strength in 2024. However, there are speculations suggesting that the appearance of the Four Horsemen and the events of Revelation may not be isolated occurrences, but rather periodic events that recur throughout human history every few years. Let's hold on to hope and work towards a better future, where the Horsemen's arrival remains a distant story rather than a present reality. Thank you for watching. If you find this topic interesting, please subscribe for more updates. Until next time, stay curious and hopeful.